You know, YouTubers and influencers, once they cannot call out for something, they like to make an apology video and say that it's due to their anxiety or depression, and then say that they will seek therapy. Then we all can get go, because if they make an apology video, usually they'll be cancelled. But, if you say in front of Edwin Tong that a mental health issue could lead to something, right, then that one must succeed. During Prita Singh's first COP hearing, he said that Ms. Khan told the WP leaders that she might be suffering from dissociation and said that could have made her say the untruth to the COP. He even asked the COP to do a psychiatric evaluation of Ms. Khan. And of course, the COP does just that. And here's the result summarized for you. Don't the CC if you don't understand my English, because my English is here, Madam Sharifah never teach me how to speak well, man, that big. Before anything, right, here's something you need to understand. I'm going to use another example that can explain the point better. Diabetes. Your blood, right, will always have glucose because your cells need glucose to work. After you just makan, right, your glucose will be higher, especially if you eat refined carbo. Then you'll drop back to baseline. So, how do you know if you got diabetes? That is if your glucose level is always very high. Now remember, this is a very simplified explanation, so if you want to know more, right, you go subscribe to those medical channels instead. Usually, one of the ways to check if you have diabetes is that your average glucose in the last 3 months is high. Clinically, they check the HbA1c, and if above 7% for Singaporeans, then you need to do more tests to diagnose if you really got diabetes or not. But you agak get the idea, it's normal for blood glucose to spike, so don't say you got diabetes when you just eaten 3 bowls of rice. If not, everyone in SAF will have diabetes at 1 PM already. So for mental health, right, it's something like that also. You see those YouTubers or influencers saying that they got anxiety or depression, right? That could be just, the spike. It's normal to feel anxious before a test, right? Or depressed for a few days if your pet cat passes away, right? To be really diagnosed with mental illness, right, doctors must use a manual called the DSM. Now as its 5th edition already. Simply put, one needs to fulfill some criteria to be diagnosed with a mental disorder, or cannot just anyhow say. Usually, right, it means the spike have affected the person's quality of life. For example only, I tell you this is good if you saw everything very simplified, okay? For example, right, to be diagnosed with clinical depression, right, you need to have symptoms for at least 2 weeks. And also, only a
psychiatrist
can diagnose and give you medicine. A therapist, right, is just someone who helps in the treatment. Now, to simplify this example, let's say that a person is diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Okay, so the doctor is the one who diagnoses and gives medicine to keep the blood glucose down. But the person might be referred to a nutritionist who helps with his diet, as diabetes, right, can be reversed if there is weight loss. So, right, it's the same thing with mental disorder. The doctor diagnoses, then gives medicine, then the therapist, right, is like the nutritionist for diabetes. So I also don't know why those YouTubers find therapists instead of psychiatrists. Maybe they also like me don't know how to pronounce
psychiatrist.
Now that you know already, right, let's go back to Ms. Khan. So a psychiatrist is brought in to assess if Ms. Khan is suffering from any mental disorder during the whole saga. The short answer, right, is no. The long answer is no. You see, what happened is that Ms. Khan might have those spikes that I mentioned earlier. Because dissociation, right, is not a mental disorder that can be diagnosed, but more of a symptoms, or in this example, the spike that we are talking about. And that is something, right, we all actually experience as well, like when we meditate or when we are, drunk. So why the entire hearing become 1 hour 30 minutes? Even Edwin Tong is not talking. Because Dennis Tam from the COP, who by the way is the only WP member there, spent a part of the time asking questions that are very, very general. Okay, I'm going to give you another example, so bear with me. So coughing, right, is one of the symptoms of COVID-19, right? So Mr. Tang kept on asking if a person can have COVID-19 when a person coughs. But the good doctor keep on saying that, yeah, but that is very, very general. Because a person can also cough when he's exercising, or maybe that person just drink mala soup. Which the good doctor repeatedly said that Ms. Khan isn't diagnosed with any mental disorder. And these symptoms are just like, the spike that I mentioned. Ms. Khan also not very happy that the WP leaders actually try to use the mental health card, saying that they are out of 9. Now if you have 1 hour and 30 minutes, right, you should watch the good doctor's hearing because it's the hearing with the most number of laughs. And now, right, I have a favorite character in the WP saga. Last time, right, is this guy because he looks very cute with a glove like Mickey Mouse. But now it's the good doctor. Now, remember, what you learn here is very, very simplified. If you feel that you have some mental issues, right, just look for
psychiatrist.
It's like flu, you sick, you go see a GP, right? Same.